Hello. It's a pretty lovely Tuesday afternoon, and the voices are starting to bother me again, so I thought I should counter it by making a video, so at least I do something positive today. I wanted to make this video a week ago, but I didn't get to it because procrastination. This is going to be a long one, so pardon me while I get into this. It's about this. This inspired me to do this. From Cowboy Bebop. I've been seeing this post quite a bit on Facebook. So it's this scene from Cowboy Bebop where Jet's ex unloads on him why she left him in the first place. And the reason why is because Jet is so competent that he just does everything for her while they were still together, and she graded against that, and in the end she left them because it felt like she couldn't do anything while she was with him. What triggered me to look at this is because the comments in here are full of dumb assholes. And so I think in my own way I should explain, because I actually have a good bit of experience in this kind of dynamic. I can somewhat relate to it. First, the disclaimer: I am not an expert. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a mental health professional. So take this with a grain of salt. All right, this is just my opinion. I just thought that I would lay my thoughts on this. What is this about? This is about agency. When you're in a relationship, in any form of relationship where there's a little bit of a power dynamic, wherein one person is doing almost everything for the other person, and the other person is, it's almost as if they're codependent, something really strange happens. So let's look at the different scenarios where this happens. For instance, like with Jet and his ex, in romantic relationships, there's a power dynamic. There's the dominant and the submissive. The thing with such a dynamic is it could work, especially if the submissive is very receptive to, to that kind of dynamic. However, a lot of people actually don't like that. They want to be able to make their own decisions. They want to be able to do their own thing and not always be under the dominant party in the relationship. And it becomes even worse if the dominant actually is a control freak, and they're not only not mindful of what they're doing, but actually actively suppressing whatever agency the submissive has. And thus the submissive party in the relationship starts feeling imprisoned. It's like they feel trapped in that relationship. And it gets even worse if it's actually abusive. Don't get me wrong, someone who does everything for the other person isn't outright abusive. That's not what I'm talking about, but it can lead to an abusive dynamic. The thing about it is it can be stifling. That's why a lot of these people have never experienced this. I'll talk more about these I don't want to call them incel, but these comments from people who have not experienced this shit. Yeah. And then another kind of relationship where this is prominent is, of course, family. Family dynamics. This is especially common in the culture where I come from, of the Chinese diaspora. In this case, I'm Filipino Chinese. I live in the Philippines, and this is very common. In fact, I grew up this way. I basically have parents who spoil the shit out of their kids. I am a very, very spoiled kid, only starting to get out of it. It's really bad. It's actually low-key bad. You know what? Just look up the Wikipedia entry for Hong Kong kids. There's an actual Wikipedia entry for it. Wait, let me look for it here. Oh, here we go. Yeah, it is this, all right. Hong Kong kids, or Kong kids. The Hong Kong kids phenomenon. Take note, this is not just limited to kids from Hong Kong. This is very prominent throughout the Chinese diaspora in Southeast Asia. This is a real thing, and I'm one of them. I'm not afraid to admit that this shit happens. A lot of Chinese parents are fucking stupid. They shouldn't have been parents. I'll tell you that. And that's me trauma dumping right there when I say that. Then it says here, derogatory expression that refers to a subset of children who are overly dependent on their families, have low emotional intelligence, and lack self-management skills. It says here in Hong Kong, but I'm telling you, this is not just limited in Hong Kong, all right? This is just very prominent in Hong Kong because Hong Kong is a very special place. Anyway, a lot of it, especially from my experience, it's family dynamics where the parents don't let their children do household chores. You think it's a bad thing to make them do chores. No, it is a good thing to make them do chores, all right? I had to learn how to do chores through YouTube, all right? That's not how it's supposed to happen. And basically just improper teaching methods. And a lot of these, not just family members in general, they suck. They suck at teaching. Like, for instance, with me, yeah, it's not just my mother, it's also other family members. And constant belittling, that's bad. It's this really confusing dynamic wherein they praise you on one hand. Yeah, you're smart, you're smart, you're capable, you can do anything you want. And yet, on the other hand, they continue to belittle you because you're stupid. They're calling you stupid for not knowing the ways of the world, not having good emotional intelligence, and not knowing how to do anything. And yet, they're not teaching you anyway. It's like they expect you to know that shit out of the womb. I don't get it. Like, of course I don't know how to fucking sweep the floor. You didn't let me do that. I'm supposed to learn on my own. Okay, I did. But as a 7-year-old, when the internet did not exist yet, at least here in the Philippines, I don't know, man. Like, it's still very confusing for me. It's such a... This is why I'm making this video in the first place. I'm trying to sort my feelings about this. And of course, it's not limited to romantic relationships and family dynamics. This can happen everywhere, like teacher-student relationships, employer-employee relationships, and so on. This thing can happen wherever and whenever. Late-stage capitalism itself, it's a very abusive relationship. The common man, the common human being, and society at large, yeah. The government and its citizens, oh my God. Like one of the biggest ones too. All of these different relationships just robbing you of agency. You're just feeling trapped. You're in purgatory. And you're wasting most of your life commuting throughout Metro Manila. Getting to work or school and then going back home. Home is supposed to be your sanctuary, but it feels more like a prison. So let's look more into this, and yeah, we're gonna start tackling those comments in that post. Yeah, like for instance, this dweeb right here, this woman, I swear, she dumped him for being too competent. Every girl wants a dependable man, and she got the most dependable one in the galaxy and decided that was a problem. That was not the problem. Competence was not the problem. In fact, competence is the sexiest thing in the universe. But it's not the only thing that makes you sexy, alright? If you're competent and yet you're also very insensitive, you have no empathy, you're unwilling to give agency to your partner, and you just do everything and just let her not do anything, not let her make her own decisions, guess what? That's going to descend into being an abusive relationship, right? So yeah, this guy is stupid, and there's another one here. Of course, this guy looks like he's one of those alpha wannabes. Woman wants a guy who will take care of them, but if you do too good of a job, then this happens. Stay single, guys. It's not worth it. Well, he's good looking enough to not be an incel, right? I've seen good looking guys who are incels. I know someone who's like that. And yeah, again, this is fatherless behavior. Good thing Jet released this one back to the streets. No, he didn't release him. She got away, all right? It's a good thing that she got away, and hopefully Jet learned a lesson from this. Here we go. Here's something from someone who's experienced this. I went through this early on in my dating relationship with my husband. He didn't know he was doing anything wrong. Yeah, that's a key point there. Most women enjoy a life like that, but I'm very headstrong and independent. Luckily, we talked about it one day several years ago, and to this day, he makes a conscious effort every day to be both a man and let me be in charge of my own life as well. Communication is key. There you go. Sometimes you just truly don't know that what you're doing with good intentions can still be perceived in a negative light. And it's not a partner's job to be psychic and know everything that's bothering you when you won't open up about it. I wish so badly that they could have made things work, relating to the post, in the scene. This episode only makes my heart ache for their love. There's someone who actually had first-hand experience, and luckily, she and her husband were able to talk it out. That's good. Communication is key. I tried to communicate this to my mother. You know, like, no, she doesn't understand. The only solution to that is live and let live. You know, this is not just limited to romantic relationships, family, but let's look at romantic relationships in general. There are these common comments. Women don't know what they want. This is like common material for old school stand-up comedians, just griping about their wives. It's not that they don't know what they want. They want agency. That's what people really want. Why do you want money? Is it just to buy everything you want, just be able to flex or whatever? All of that, all of those things that you associate with money, what it really is agency, the freedom, the access, and having a stress-free life. You know, it's all of that boils down to agency. And as for family relationships, you know, like, and I hear this all the time. You don't know how lucky you are, you ungrateful child. I get that from my mother all the time. I get that from my family all the time. But what they don't understand is that for the longest time, I've been made to feel like I'm a prisoner of my own fortune. Like, it doesn't matter. I'm lucky? Really? I have these miserable people as my family. Mind you, I do love my family. It's just that I do have problems with them, okay? It's something that I have to deal with. Don't worry. I know that it could have been worse. That's pretty much my consolation there. It could have been worse. You don't get to be this screwed up unless there's something wrong. What I really am jealous of is a normal family life. That's it. A normal family life, normal friendships, just normal social life, you know? Like, I wish I wasn't this socially awkward. I wish I wasn't this incredibly introverted. I wish I didn't have such crippling anxiety, you know? That was built up through decades of trauma, decades of emotional trauma, because of the way I was raised, because of the way my family treated me. And mind you, I am still thankful that they raised me, and that it could have been worse, and I'm pretty well off. It's just that it could have been better. But those people tend to have a common opinion that, hey, you should have been more disciplined, and you should have just followed orders. You should have just listened. In Tagalog, makinig ka na lang. I hear that all the time. Makinig ka na lang. You don't have to do any thinking. Just listen. Just listen and follow orders. That's it. Be a perfect soldier. Don't think. Just do as we say, because we're more experienced than you. You don't know shit. Just do as we ask, and you'll be okay. And if anything goes wrong, it's because you did not listen. You did not listen at all. Again, robbing you of agency. The best teacher is still experience, and you want to be able to have that experience. You want to be allowed to make the mistakes, and as long as it doesn't kill you or do crippling damage, you know, you learn from those mistakes, right? But no, they don't want you to make those mistakes because they think you making those mistakes is bad. You're worse off because they themselves have had hard lives. You having an easier life is a good thing, right? It's a good thing, but it isn't. It isn't. Because it makes you feel like you're a prisoner of your own circumstance. Things can be too good. Yes. You don't want to believe that, but yes, your circumstances can be too good. I know that. I lived that. And all of these experiences made me want to really sort this out and really understand how it works. It really is about agency. It's not just about money, you know, or resources. It's not just about, you know, social access. It's not all of that. All of that boils down to one word: agency. Being able to choose your destiny, being able to master your fate, to captain your own ship. It's all about that. That's why we have this argument about capitalism versus communism, right? Capitalism versus socialism. Which is better? What is the better system? All of that boils down to what is the best way to give ordinary people agency, to be able to pursue happiness. That's all it boils down to. That's all, I think that's all of philosophy boils down to, is what is the best way to achieve agency and appreciate it and be able to share it with others. Then again, there are some philosophies that suggest that you shouldn't share it with others. They should go get it for themselves. You should enjoy the fruits of your own labor, your own agency. Leave them to, to fend for themselves, because that's the right way to do things. If you're into Ayn Rand, if you're an objectivist, that's what you believe. I'm not a big Ayn Rand fan, let's put it that way. And so I've had this draft in my Google Docs for years, and I've been trying to come to grips with what do I think about this shit, and I came up with an acronym. It used to be AEIOU, the vowels, but it turns out it's in reverse, UOEAI. I even said that wrong, UOIEA. I know, I love my acronyms. It's I love my mnemonic devices, and they come off really ham-fisted. But let's get through this. This is what I wrote here. I have a whole outline here. By the way, this is what I do with my messenger. If you want to send yourself notes, you want to send yourself links, send it to your own messenger. Look for yourself on Messenger, and that's pretty much your note-taking app. Pro tip. So let's look through this. I actually put it in AEIOU. It should be the other way around. Oh no, okay. So the first one, understanding, achieving understanding, being able to understand yourself and what you need. What you need is agency. What you need is the ability to choose and decide for yourself. And the more you're able to make your own decisions, the better you become at making your own decisions. And for the longest time, I'm unable to make my own decisions because, of not being allowed to do so for the longest time. And I had to, find wiggle room. And then I did small things like, get into martial arts, which my family really discouraged. Like, I wanted to join the judo club. My mother threatened to throw me out of the house because she didn't want me, getting slammed on the ground. And she didn't want to have to worry about that. In the end, this is all about them avoiding stress. It's not because they're worried about me. They just want to avoid stress. And as you're able to understand yourself better through making your own decisions, you achieve an understanding of what accountability is. Accountability is a very big thing. That in the end, you are responsible for your own actions. Yes, it is true that your circumstances have shaped you, and for instance, with me, my family have done a lot to rob me of agency because in their perspective, that was the right thing to do. For them to do things for me. And I am ungrateful for that because that was the wrong thing to do. In my opinion, that was the wrong thing to do. I had to be able to make my own decisions. But because of the way they raised me, every decision I face, even small ones, like even fucking getting out of the house and, like even choosing what I want to eat on the Jollibee menu racks me with anxiety. Well, actually, in Jollibee, the only thing I ever order is burger steak. Okay, there was that one time where I donated blood and I decided I wanted to eat Chicken Joy instead. The Burger King menu, though, yeah, that racked me with anxiety. Have you ever stood in front of a milk tea place and you didn't know if you wanted matcha or taro? Nowadays, it's just order taro, period. Gongcha is a good place, but your taro sucks. And it's not because it's not purple, alright? It's not just that. Anyway, getting back to this, once you're able to understand the importance of accountability, you're then able to communicate. You understand the importance of communication. Good communication. Being able to understand the other people and letting yourself be understood. I also want to write about communication because communication is the one skill that enhances all other skills. It is the ultimate skill. And I myself, I'm not very good at communicating. Like, I seem to be very okay at talking, but in fact, in reality, I'm not very good. I'm not a very good communicator. I suck. Come on. You can tell from how many cuts I make in this video once I edit this. I suck at talking. I have to do a lot of cuts. And once you achieve understanding, you then go towards being able to create order in your life. That's the O. That's next. Order is all about learning what was previously unknown, organizing what was previously scattered and disheveled, and earning what used to be lacking. Being able to create order in your life is about information, organization, consolidating your resources. And a lot of people get stuck in this step because you know, like the economy, the society, a lot of the circumstances we now have, especially now in the 2020s. You know, it's not easy. There are a few, like myself, who are a lot more fortunate, and they're able to have order right there. In fact, things were ordered for me. That's why I'm making this video in the first place, trauma dumping about this shit. It was ordered for me. That's a problem, because when things are made to order for you, you don't get an inherent understanding of how those things were ordered in the first place, because you didn't do it yourself. That's a problem. But if you're able to do it for yourself, the good thing about that is you have an inherent understanding. You know how that shit works. You know how the sausage was made. You know the inner workings of that thing. I have a Raspberry Pi here. You know how this thing works. You know the inner workings. You know the circuitry inside it. You know the processes that were done to create this thing. That's my analogy here. And once you have achieved order, you then move on towards identity. Your identity becomes, consolidated. Now, there are a few things about identity, because there are a few schools of thought when it comes to realizing and understanding your identity. The common school of thought is that once you're able to know yourself, you can move on to self-actualization. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? It even goes down to like a gender identity, your sexual identity, your ikigai, your calling, your true calling. And then there's the Zen Buddhist school of thought that understanding our identity is understanding that there is no true self, that this is all temporary, that this is, in the end, you are a void, that there is no true self, that you and everyone else around you are all the same. Come from the same void, and you will go back to the same void. When you die, you're just a drop of water reuniting with the ocean. And true self-actualization is achieving enlightenment, of understanding that there is no true self, and the way you treat yourself and the way you treat others are the same thing. If you treat yourself badly, you will treat others badly, and if you treat others badly, you treat yourself badly. You cannot live as if you live forever. I'm still trying to understand that. That's why, the way I talk about that stuff is still pretty messy. I'm not exactly an enlightened being, am I? In any case, being able to form your identity informs you of who you are and what you do and how other people see you, more or less. That's like the basic definition of identity. But it goes beyond that. In knowing yourself, you also start to understand your place in the world, or maybe your lack of place in the world. In my case, it's definitely the lack of place in this world, and your lack of purpose and the lack of meaning. Maybe you should create your own meaning. You should create your own place. You carve out your own place with your bare hands. And I'm in that place right now. And once you're able to understand your identity, you then are able to get a better understanding of empathy. You're able to achieve greater empathy towards others. And that sharing is caring. And everything you do, every decision you make, every action you take, and every goal you try to achieve is out of courtesy for others. And not just for yourself. You're not just serving yourself. You're also sharing yourself, and you're being of a greater advantage to others. Like that's, I got that from the quote by Buckminster Fuller. Let me pull it up here. Buckminster Fuller was a futurist designer. He was an architect, an author, and a designer. He invented things like whenever you hear the adjective Demaxian, that's him. Oh, here we go. Here it is. You do not belong to you. You belong to the universe. The significance of you will remain forever obscure to you. But you may assume you are fulfilling your significance if you apply yourself to converting all of your experience to the highest advantage of others. Make the world work for 100% of humanity in the shortest possible time through spontaneous cooperation without ecological offense or the disadvantage of anyone. I encountered this quote many years ago, and it helped me make better sense of myself. I didn't immediately achieve like an epiphany or anything when I read this, but it helped. I remember that quote, and it helped me, especially in the mid-2010s. I was in the midst of really bad depression during the mid-2010s, and it was definitely helpful. And I think empathy, that really describes empathy in that. It's not just about, understanding how others feel and being able to account for others whenever you do anything. It's also being able to share yourself with others. That's another thing that my family didn't teach me very well, because whenever I help someone, they get angry. My mother gets angry. Like, it's weird. It's really weird. I'm carrying someone else's computer up to fix it here, and my mother gets angry. That's his computer. Why are you carrying it yourself? It's weird. I don't know. My mother got angry at me for the weirdest shit. She got angry at me for being a good friend. It's weird. Like, she thinks it's stupid. I don't know. I don't get it. To this day, I don't get it. I know she's trying to teach me to not be taken advantage of, but that's different. Right? That's different. Anyway. And once you're able to achieve all those other 4 things, you finally are able to grasp agency is something that you achieve throughout your entire life as you grow up and grow old. When you're growing up, you learn skills and knowledge, the fundamentals, the foundations of, living in this world. And when you go through puberty, you're realizing your potential. You're starting to gain the abilities of an adult, the physical abilities of an adult, the mental capacity of an adult. Once you're finally an adult, hopefully you went through sufficient development that you're now able to accept responsibility and be your own person. That's what it means to be an adult, right? Well, unfortunately, in today's society, a lot of us are ill-equipped for that. That's why there's the verb adulting, because adulting is hard. All right, like, geez, it's like the previous generation handicapped us. They didn't teach us very well. It's like they themselves were unable to go through the right kind of development to prepare them to be parents and mentors and guardians. And thus, they pass it on to us, and we're unable to do the same thing for ourselves. It's weird, I'm a millennial, so that's a common theme when it comes to millennials. And maybe you're a boomer, or maybe you're one of those assholes who think they're better than everyone else, who thinks that all of this is just whining. And yeah, it is. I'll acknowledge it does sound a little bit like whining, but am I not allowed to be honest? Am I not allowed to express my emotions and my thoughts through this medium of the internet? Aren't we able to have a dialogue where we can discuss these things? That's why I'm making this video in the first place, right? And that's why I'm talking about this. All of this struggle is about achieving agency. It all boils back to agency. And so what I call for here is being able to find a good way for us to resolve these conflicts of agency, all these struggles, all these debates, all these arguments about who is supposed to be able to help who. First of all, we gotta be able to learn how to communicate our needs and our emotions, our feelings. If you're anxious about it, you should talk about it. That's why I'm making this video in the first place. This is my way of, communicating, because no one else around me is willing to listen to me. That's for sure. That's why I became a writer in the first place. My main vocation is as a writer. And now I'm trying to make content so that, I'm able to better express myself through this. Because no one else is willing to listen to me, because I'm too lucky for my own good, right? And also, if you're unable to be honest, at the very least, you gotta learn that if you lie about it later, you shouldn't do it. This is something I came up with, by the way. Like, come here. Those are my 6 rules. Those are my 6 commandments. I have my own commandments. It's called a revolver because it's 6 bullets. As you can see, number 2 right there is if you lie about it later, don't do it. I don't obey that rule all the time, but I try. I try really hard. Maybe someday I will make a video about those 6 bullets. if you at least follow, this rule of if you lie about it later, don't do it. At the very least, you learn how to be more honest with yourself, more honest with your communication. Also, not give yourself problems by doing things that you want, but you know that you'll lie about later. Like infidelity, that's a big one. Being a sex pest, there's another one. Stealing or doing any sort of crime, or betraying others, betraying your friends and family, there's that too. Like, if you lie about it later, don't do it, because at the very least, you'll give yourself less problems that way. Through your communications, if they don't care about it, if they don't care about you, then maybe it is time to part ways. Just saying, it's not a bad thing to burn bridges and to cut off connections and to walk away if it really is the only thing left for you to do. Not all relationships are healthy. Not all friendships are healthy. In the end, you gotta listen to yourself. If the dynamic of that particular relationship is leading you to be a worse person, then maybe it really is time to part ways. All of your relationships with other people, all of your interpersonal relationships, whatever they are, whatever nature they may be, should enrich your life. So if it goes the other way, maybe it's time. Maybe it's time to quit. Now, through this communication, there's the dynamic of in terms of this thing of one having more agency than the other. There's the subordinate, and then there's the authority. There's the submissive, and there's the dominant. I'm going to use the terminology subordinate and authority. For the subordinate, you must learn to assert yourself. You have to assert yourself more. In romantic relationships, I think the best way to do this is by setting boundaries. You gotta set your boundaries. You gotta be able to communicate that I love you, but this is the line in the sand right here. If you're not willing for me to set this line right here, then maybe this is not going to work out. You gotta be able to set your boundaries. And if the other person, as dominant as they may be over you, if they're not willing to respect those boundaries, it's time to walk away. And as for family, it gets a little harder because it's family, especially if you're young, you're still growing up, and especially here in Asia. In the West, you move out when you're 18, right? It's not as common here in Asia. The next best thing is learning the proper way to rebel. What is the proper way to rebel? Well, this is the advice that I wish I could have given to my younger self. Okay, so family are very angry whenever you do certain things, whenever you try to pursue certain avenues, and you get a lot of lip and you get a lot of pushback. But really observe what's going on. Really observe. Really look closely at what they're doing and what you're being allowed to do, because yes, they're saying a lot of things. They're being very loud. They're being very vocal about their resistance against what you're doing. But take a look. Are they physically getting in your way? Are they physically stopping you? Because if they're not, then they're actually not stopping you. They're saying a lot of things. They're yelling at you. They're being angry at you whenever you're trying to pursue that thing. But if they're not actively stopping you, then you should proceed. Especially if that's a good thing and that's a thing that you think you really want to pursue for the rest of your life, you should go for it. If that thing really is something that you want to do in life, then you're gonna need to make sacrifices. And for spoiled children like me, making sacrifices is something that's very hard to do. It's something that you've not learned how to do for the longest time throughout your life. And it's time to start learning, especially once you're starting to come into adulthood, or if you're already an adult. Like, I learned that pretty fucking late, and I wish I learned it a lot sooner. Especially when you're younger, you're not actually sacrificing that much. It is what it is. If you have to cut ties, you have to cut ties. In the end, you have to start taking control of your life. It's the reason why they're raising you, right? It's the reason why they're taking care of you and helping you grow up, is so that you then later be able to take care of yourself, right? Just saying, in the end, it's a big part of your own decision in your life. And in general, just being able to stand up for yourself and be heard. Like, we see this all the time. For instance, citizens, when When they have gripes with their government, what do? They protest, right? It's standing up for themselves and trying to be heard, because democracy is all about giving agency to the citizens, right? To the common people. There are a lot of people out there who don't believe that that's good, authoritarians, right wing or whatever. If that's your political stance, okay, whatever. But I think in the end, all of us in some way want agency. If you really believe in the concept of agency for everyone, for the common people, then why are you mad when jeepney drivers are protesting the potential loss of their livelihoods, right? Why would you be angry? What? Because of some minor inconveniences? I don't know. You be entitled to whatever opinion you may have. You be entitled to whatever privileges you may have. God damn it, everyone should have their own privileges, right? Everyone has rights, right? Everyone should have agency. Why should you be the only one who has agency? Why can't those people have their agency as well? There you go. That's as political as I can get here in this video. And as for authority, if you really care about the other person, the other party, if you care about your subordinates or the other person, you have to start being able to surrender some of that control that you have. You may be more competent, you may have more power, but power shouldn't be monopolized, because any form of monopoly of power results in not very good things. It is true for romantic relationships, it is true for family dynamics, and it's true for even governments, nations, society, civilization at large. Any sort of monopolized power, it corrupts absolutely, right? For romantic relationships, it's about acknowledging your partner's individuality. They are their own person, and you gotta be able to let them be able to do their own thing. Now, if you're the jealous boyfriend-girlfriend type, well, that's your problem. That's a you issue. That's a skill issue, even. And as for family, you gotta be able to acknowledge your child's both individuality and humanity. That they are human beings. They're not just a symbol. They're not just your property. Like I'm talking to you, Chinese parents. Like, this is what was done to me. My humanity and my individuality were not acknowledged, and that's why I have all of this pent-up frustration, all right, even at this age. And your children may have that too. I assure you, they have that. They're just unable to communicate it to you. Likely they haven't learned how to communicate it, or you're suppressing them actively. If you're watching this right now and you're kind of understand the words that are coming out of my mouth, maybe it's time for you to reassess your relationship with your children. Just saying. And in general, just acknowledging that you need each other. Like, employers need their employees, and the employees need their employers. It is a two-way street, right? Governments need their citizens, and their citizens need the government to govern. And the economy at large, like the 1% cannot be the 1% without the 99%. If you're a socialist, maybe the 1% may want to give a little bit more to the 99%, because they need to acknowledge that the 99% are the reason why they're the 1%. And so maybe they should lend more of a hand to the 99%, so it's not so uneven, and that everything can be a little bit more equal. If you lean a little bit more to the left, you believe in that. In the end, it's all about agency. You gotta be able to give people a way, live their own lives, right? Anyway, it's still really messy in my head. Maybe if I finish that draft in my Google Docs, I'd be able to make better sense of this. Tell me about your thoughts in the comments. What do you think about this topic? And go to avoider.net. Maybe I'll publish that blog post finally after all these years. I still have to sort things out, sort these thoughts out. And yeah, that is all for now. This is a very difficult video to make, and holy shit, it's almost an hour. Oh god, this is going to be hell to edit. Anyway, that's all for now. Thank you for watching this absolute rambling rant of a video. And until next time, stay Tor.